Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So studying Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7, chapter 1, the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Text number 32. Just a second. Okay. 32. Katamo Pina Vena Shat Panchanam Purusham Prati Tasmat Kenapyupayena Mana Krishne Niveshaye. Yeah, this is a beautiful sloka. So, Narad Muni is concluding that establishing the Siddhanta, how to get the maximum benefit from Krishna. So, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home, back to Godhead. Atheists like a king of Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Purport. Impersonalists and atheists always try to circumvent the form of Krishna. Great politicians and philosophers of the modern age even try to banish Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. Consequently, for them there is no salvation. But Krishna's enemies think, here is Krishna, my enemy. I have to kill him. They think of Krishna in his actual form, and thus they attain salvation. Devotees, therefore, who constantly think of Krishna's form are certainly liberated. The only business of the Mayavadi atheists, the only business of the Mayavadi atheists is to make Krishna formless. And consequently, because of this severe offense at the lotus feet of Krishna, they cannot expect salvation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in this connection, Tena Shishupaladi Bhinnah Pratikula Bhavam Didhishur Yena Iva Narkam Yatiti Bhavah. Except for Shishupal, those who go against the regulative principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. the regulatory principle is that one must always think of Krishna, whether is a friend or enemy. Wow. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Niti Namini. Namah Sadbhakta Manaye Manipurudbhavaya Cha Srila Prabhupada Lasatwani Prachara Niratayate Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Binda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasyanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Srila Prabhupada begins the purport with the misfortune of impersonalists because they are not able to think of Krishna incessantly. Rather, they want to avoid Krishna, not avoid, but make Krishna formless. And conclusion, Srila Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, said that except for Shishupal, those who go against the regulatory principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. No, the regulatory principle is that one must always think of Krishna, whether as a friend or enemy. That shows that it's very, very extremely difficult to be able to remember Krishna, think of Krishna. Something one has to become infatuated with. Some obsession has to be there in order to be able to think of Krishna in either of the 5 styles, Kamat, Krodhat, Bhayat, differently described. So consciousness, one has to become so deeply involved with the thought of Krishna. That means he cannot just ignore Krishna. But if one is not able to think of Krishna all the times, then Krishna is ignored, and that becomes very offensive. although we find in our scriptures that especially the Shishupal is mentioned, he was tremendously envious of Krishna, Dvesha. So that's why the purport concludes like that. Dvesha is one thing, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad. These five things, they are deposited somewhere to replace, Kama, as we discussed yesterday. It degrades us. It degrades. But when the same desire is engaged in for Krishna's pleasure, when the object of our desire becomes Krishna, then Kama becomes converted into prema. It frees one from this self-obsession, identifying strongly, very strongly with this material perishable body. Similarly, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad. But when it comes to Matsarya, the envy, it is impossible. So, but here, Shishupal is envious of Krishna. See the point? We are envious of different things. Envy, especially towards Vaishnava, it has no replacement. It has to be given up. It has to be given up. Because there was no replacement, even Nautam Das Thakur could not find any replacement for envy. So it's an instruction for all of us. Because the object of envy is not sufficiently strong. Even if we say that we are envious of Krishna, but not sufficient. Once a sadhaka, a devotee, asked Srila Prabhupada, when this seventh canto was being discussed, said, Prabhupada, I have he said, I want to become a demon, so that then it is easier for me to meet Krishna. Krishna will come and kill me and I will get liberation. I want to become a demon. And Prabhupada said, no, you cannot, because you are not strong enough. You are not strong enough a demon to attract Krishna's attention. And because Krishna is so wonderful, Krishna is so amazing, how can one be envious of Krishna? But it is an obsession when someone cannot stand someone's glory. So in case of Shishupal, as we know the story, somehow he didn't believe that Krishna can kill him, but as the forecast that Krishna will kill him, and this thing he just made a joke of it, and that's why he always saw Krishna out of envy, somehow or other. So for others, there is no replacement for envy. Our envy is not so much so, and especially it is impossible for us to be envious of Krishna so much, like Shishupal. So Shishupal is just an exception. But general sadhakas, one should not be envious of anyone. And envy, especially towards Krishna, it has no replacement. It has to be given up. That's why in the spiritual world they described that two things don't happen. One thing is killing of the demons and preaching. No preaching and no killing of demons. Because in the spiritual world, nobody is envious of Krishna. Nobody is demoniac in the spiritual world. Nobody ever became demoniac. Nobody ever became envious of Krishna. Ever, ever, ever. It's an eternal realm where everybody is eternally engaged in a favorable mood only. There is no inimical, envious nature existing there. So, but in this material realm, one has to become free from this envy. Then the pure devotion will sprout. And even if the tinge of envy in the heart of a sadhaka or anybody, because envy has, if you want to realize that transcendence, envy towards anyone, why we cannot stand anyone? Because that will deprive us of bhakti. So there is no other way except drive away this envy from the heart. There is no other like cure, no other placement for envy in the heart of a sadhaka. And how one can do that? By becoming magnanimous. How? Because realizing that Krishna resides as Paramatma in everybody's heart. So everybody is the object. Everybody is a candidate of my respect. Jive Samman Dive Jani Krishna Adhishtan, Chaitanya Chaitanya describes. So, if we are envious towards any living being, then that means Krishna becomes displeased. If someone becomes envious of Krishna, like Shishupal, which is not possible, we don't have the capacity. Krishna doesn't mind. Krishna can tolerate envy of anyone towards him, like he tolerated Shishupal and delivered him. But if anybody is envious of anyone anyone is part and parcel of Krishna. Everybody is dear to Krishna. So one who is dear to Krishna, if you become envious of her, then naturally you must face the consequences. And the consequences is that one goes to hell. The regular principle is that one must always think of Krishna. So we have better option to think of Krishna lovingly, because Krishna is definitely much, much, much more lovable. Then why one would be envious of Krishna? Only in ignorance. No? So in ignorance, it's sinful. That is pardonable. But those Mayavadis, they apparently know about Krishna, his glories, his power, his pastimes and everything. And still they deliberately defy Krishna, deny Krishna, the eternal form. That's why they are most unfortunate. They don't attain the supreme, although they assume that they have already become liberated. Yanyera vindaksha vimukta maninas. Tvai asta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya hai. Aruya Krichrena Param Padam Tatah Patanti Adha Anadrita Yushmad Angraha. The Brahma and all these devatas praying to Lord Krishna in the womb of Mother Devaki. So they are describing that the so-called liberated ones, Vimukta Maninas, they assume or presume that they have become liberated. But because they have not developed any affinity for the lotus feet of the Lord, rather, Anadrita Yushmad Angraya, they have developed aversion towards the lotus feet, or the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The ultimate shelter and the source of liberation also. Krishna's lotus feet, they provide the shelter which is greater than liberation. Liberation is just a byproduct, secondary effect of attaining shelter of Krishna. Attaining shelter of Krishna naturally frees one from the entanglement of this world. So in one of the 5 ways, King Vena is referred. So what is the problem with King Vena? Although he was very offensive, he was really very offensive, but he did not take Krishna very seriously. Krishna can do anything, or just ignored. So his focus, his meditation of the Supreme was not incessant. He was not obsessed with. The thought of Krishna is very, very purifying if it is kept incessant. That's why Mahaprabhu said, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Somehow or other, Krishna has to be glorified every moment, all the times by us. Because that is the injunction for the devotees. But here we find that although Shishupal acted very negatively and very offensively, but his offense was also incessant. His thought was, his obsession, his infatuation with Krishna was like unending. He could not let go thinking of Krishna even for a moment. So this is the potency of remaining connected to Krishna all the times. You will get the highest perfection. Because Krishna is anything but material. Krishna is above the 3 modes of material nature. So if one is able to incessantly attach oneself to Krishna in one's chitta deep, asakti is chitta deep. So his consciousness was involved with the thought of Krishna, chitta deep, and the effect comes. So this is the effect. If one associates with Krishna incessantly, that is the point. Then one gets the absolute nature also. Yatra yatra mano dehi dharayet sakalam dhiya. Yatra yatra, this is a very wonderful invention in Bhagavatam. Yatra yatra mano dehi dharayet sakalam dhyam, with full concentration. Sakalam dhyam is the total focus of the intelligence. Yatra yatra mano dehi, with the mind, this living entity, if he puts his mind with the full focus of the intelligence on something, Dharit Sakalam Diya. Snehad Dveshad Bhayad Vapi. Again, this out of love, out of Dveshad, envy or Bhaya. Snehad Dveshad Bhayad Vapi. Yati Tattat Swarupatam. One attains that nature on the object where his mind is with full concentration of intelligence is focused. I don't know in the section that the example given of that insect is covered or not, because I'm quoting 11th canto. And the example in this regard is given about that insect. So insect, because of its absorption in the thought of the wasp flies away after creating some kind of hive, and the insect becomes converted into a wasp because of the power of consciousness on matter. So even the dead matter, the body of insect becomes converted into the body of a wasp because of insect's absorption in wasp. This is observed in nature. The wasp flies away, but the weak insect is just stunned in the thought of total absorption of the wasp, and it converts into wasp itself. So we can imagine that yes, at the time of death, whatever object our consciousness is fixed, we attain the same nature. So Shishupal's position was that. That's why the Siddhanta, this is a Siddhanta shloka. Tasmat kenapi upayena manah Krishna niveshe. Somehow or other, if one is able to absorb one's mind in the thought of Krishna, that is the key. How you get it? Shishupal did it through envy. But it is not possible for us. Shishupal stands out. The Siddhanta remains the same. Yes, if you are able to think of Krishna constantly, incessantly, these three things, out of love, out of fear, why one would fear Krishna? Krishna is the most lovable person. Why one would be envious of Krishna? Krishna has done wonderful things for the benefit of the whole world, and every human being can understand Krishna's glory, Krishna's super excellent everything. That's why the Vena, although he was very offensive, because his absorption, he did not consider Krishna very seriously. That's the point. If one thinks of anyone or anything seriously, that means incessant. If I'm serious about something, my thought is all the times, 24/7, absorbed in the thought of something I'm thinking seriously. That's all. And any question or comments, addition, if one has, please come forward.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So one should think what is one's best option. just as Prabhupada told that devotee, you are not capable enough to become such a big demon to attract Krishna's attention, to kill you. So don't try something which is beyond your capacity. So that way, all these other options, they are just not meant for us. But as Narad Muni has described in this chapter, he is glorifying that absorption aspect of Shishupal or Kansa. That devotees, even while we have to become we have to, even when we try to take or remember Krishna very consciously, in spite of trying to remember and take Krishna's name consciously, we become distracted, we become माला चल रही है, but ध्यान, mind has disappeared somewhere. It happens even. So when attraction for Krishna or the love for Krishna is so much that subconsciously we think of Krishna, we chant Krishna's name. That kind of level we have to achieve. Right now we are very consciously trying to remember Krishna. But how long we can remain conscious of Krishna? That's a big issue, no? Rather I should think how much I am not conscious of Krishna. I think that may help. How much time I am not conscious of Krishna. If I think like that, that will also make me increase my consciousness of Krishna. Right? I will find that almost all the time I am not conscious of Krishna. So if I become aware of that almost all the time I am not conscious of Krishna, and if I think seriously about it, I will end up becoming conscious of Krishna, isn't it? So anything which bothers me, if it involves not remembering Krishna, that will definitely help me to remember Krishna. You know, like that. It's a negative psychology we can use. Trying to remember Krishna, and still failing. So that's why this Vyatirek Bhava, never forget Krishna. I'm going to forget Krishna, I'm going to forget Krishna, I'm going to forget Krishna. If one becomes serious about this possibility, then that repetition will help us to remember Krishna. So there are different ways how to make our remembering Krishna lovingly incessant. And it's very, very difficult. This is what Sridhar Swami says. Charana smarnam premna tava deva sudurlabham. He says sudurlabham. Narad Muni, that's why he says that, yeah, for bhaktas to be that conscious of Krishna all the time is very difficult. But Shishupal was conscious of Krishna all the times. So it is the absorption part, associating with Krishna's thought all the times, incessantly. That is what Shishupal accomplished. King Ven did not even consider Krishna seriously. He was simply ignoring and offensive, like most people, like Mayavadis. They are offensive because they don't think that Krishna is worth being thought all the times. Rather, they just negate him, just deny him, make him formless, make him zero, like that. We have all these points, wonderful, to determine for ourselves where do we stand in our attaining this status of being able to remember Krishna lovingly all the time, 24/7, even in the dream. Charana smarnam premna tava deva sudurlabham. Then we have to beg it. We have to cry out in desperation. Krishna, although I'm trying to remember you all the times, consciously, still I'm failing. So you have to bless me. You have to, we have to cry out. We have to pray to Krishna, beg Krishna something which is very impossible for us, very, very difficult for us. So we do ask Krishna, please engage me in your service, correct? But we can, although we may be saying with the consciously, with meaning, and we forget it. Mind just runs away from different places. And even when we when we chant Hare Krishna, we are begging Krishna, okay, please Krishna, please engage me in your service. Engage. It becomes very casual. The serious aspect. What it means if we become engaged in Krishna's service, what status we attain, what it would be like. Krishna engages us in his personal service. We have no idea, it's just we just casually say it. But when Krishna would want to engage us in his service, if we become so conscious of him, if we start liking Krishna so much. Love means liking, na? हम भगवान को इतना चाहे कि कृष्ण हमें चाहने लगे. There is no other way. Attaining Krishna, that is not the goal of life. Chahana Krishna, loving, to be able to love Krishna, to be able to remember Krishna lovingly all the times. How Krishna will be out of you? Krishna has been captured by the consciousness. Now Krishna is in the prison of a devotee's consciousness. See, this is how this consciousness is so powerful. So Sridhar Swami says, Yatha kathanchit nihare mama bhuyat aharnisham. Oh Krishna, please bless me so that I am able to remember you lovingly day and night. It is not possible for me through my sadhana alone. Through sadhana, he realizes that it is very sublime. So sadhana, our sadhana is to, this is the goal of sadhana, to realize our incapacitatedness, to realize our utter akshamta, incapacitatedness. Then the natural humility, then the natural begging and desperation comes. I have tried in every way and still, Krishna, I'm not able to think of you all the time. So please you help me out. So when Krishna sees someone's such a desire for Krishna, such a desire to be able to remember Krishna all the times. So prem to chahane ki cheez hai na. Prem, love of Krishna is not to, I want to grab Krishna, I want to embrace Krishna. A devotee does not insist, I love Krishna, I want to dance with him, I want to touch him, and different things. What if Krishna doesn't want to be touched by us? Would it bother us then? Can we simply just love Krishna, like Krishna so much? If Krishna likes it, he may want to dance with us. He may want to touch us. So when Krishna becomes interested in our liking him sufficiently, then we have made it. Otherwise, we should not make that kind of, that I love Krishna so much. If one loves Krishna so much, one would not think that he loves Krishna so much, because love one cannot much. One cannot claim that one loves Krishna. A true lover, he never thinks that, the person never thinks that he loves Krishna. Rather, it's the reverse. I don't have enough love for Krishna, because in love, atripti, however much 24/7 he is obsessed with Krishna, he thinks he does not have enough love for Krishna. That's why he's bereft of Krishna darshan. So it's a paradoxical. So for sadhakas, we cannot afford to be arrogant or thinking or claiming that we are sufficiently Krishna conscious. Actually, one who is Krishna conscious, he does not have time to think how Krishna conscious he is. Rather, he's just lamenting that he has not become only Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious ही नहीं है वो. If he was Krishna conscious, Krishna would have agreed to take him in his company like that. These are the things. So ultimately, this chapter describes that how we will find our incessant remembrance of Krishna. Although very, very difficult, but not impossible. How it not is impossible? Because we can beg it from Krishna. Something which is very difficult, we must beg, we must ask Krishna's help. We ask Krishna's help for petty things, which are very easy to accomplish in this world. We must beg Krishna, we must ask Krishna something Krishna really wants to give us. But we have to earn it, we have to crave for it, we have to show our desperation for it. Krishna loves desperation in a sadhaka. So love is in desperation. Krishna will not bestow love unless we show our desperation for it. These are the points, and because Mr. Vena, he never showed any seriousness in the thought of Krishna. That's why he was just offensive. Shishupal was offensive also, but his offensiveness was so humongous, so much it made him attached to Krishna. He just couldn't let go of Krishna. But Vena was let go of Krishna. Krishna was not in his thought incessantly. So he was not able to associate with Krishna all the times. But Shishupal was. That's why Shishupal stands out, and that's what caused the surprise to Yudhishthira Maharaj asking Narad Muni how that such an envious person, such a sinful person attains such a elevated position, association with Krishna. So this is the Siddhant very wonderfully described, and I think this is the conclusion of that what we have been discussing over a few weeks. Hare Krishna. Anybody has anything to add? Maharaj, you want to add something or any question?
Hare Krishna. That's three actually. Yes, Balram, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji, Dandvat Pranam. Very nice
Hare
to hear
Krishna. Balram.
Very, very nice to hear you. So I have one question. It's regarding to, related to the Siddhanta that you told. So this is also this question was asked a few days back by Nilmada Prabhu. How one can be enemy of Lord? I thought about that. Maybe I'll ask the question, and this will answer also his questions. His question that he asked. So from my thought, Jiva can't be an enemy of God. Whatever he does, he cannot be directly an enemy of God. And to become an enemy, Jiva has to go to the level of Golak Vrindavan or spiritual world. But Jiva, because is bound by Maya, he is not able to even go out of Maya. And how can one jiva think of enmity with Krishna or Lord? So we can only be enemy or friend, whatever. Only when we go to that level, when we understand Lord in that position. And enmity in Golak Vrindavan is also a bhava, and you said that bhava, I forget bhava. That bhava also creates rasa, and this is not I mean, in the material world, enmity, because we are bound in this material world. So if you do enmity, then we are enemy with the material body, not with the real Krishna residing within him or her, whatever it is. So from that point of view, I mean, when we say Sisupal or the other Pena or yeah, then the Vakra. So in those cases, they are not up to that level. Like Sisupala, he was the Dwarapala of Krishna, but these people are nowhere there up to that level. So if they don't go out of Maya, then how can they become an enemy in that state? So to become an enemy is also one needs to go to that level. I mean, one has to go out of Maya, and whether one wants to serve as an enemy or as a friend or whatever other bhavas. So in all cases, one has to go out of this Maya, and to go out of this Maya, we have to pray God in this nature. Three modes of material nature are acting on us. So once we go out, then we can think of enemy or friend. But if you are within this, then always we have to think of God, or we have to pray God to come out of this. Otherwise, there is no such enmity or friendship with God. But the enmity or friendship that we are thinking in this material world
Can
is
it be
with the
short,
body only.
Prabhuji? Because we have
Actually,
Yeah.
actually,
So,
if it
so in this,
no, if I
finish,
understood correctly.
yes, Maraji.
actually, it is the other way around. Because Jai Vijay, they wanted to please the Lord, because Lord was, he was stretching his arms, and sometimes we do a mock boxing, sometimes, and so they overlooked or overheard the Lord's desire to have some rasa, chivalry, the rasa of chivalry. And say, well, who can fight the Lord? Lord has that desire, to have fighting rasa of, and then say, well, we are not envious of Krishna, or we are not angry at him, or we don't have any enmity. But if it helps, if it pleases the Lord, then we are ready to accept even that mood. So in the spiritual world, that doesn't exist. Nobody is inimical to the Lord. And in order to get that mood, one has to enter the realm of the three modes of material nature. Because outside, beyond three modes of material nature, there is no enmity, there is no envy. And that's why the Avesh, when they came with the Avesh of enmity, that's all. They are eternally the parishads of Lord. And the Lord, if he wants to do something, entertain his proclivity to fight, who he will fight with? He will fight only his associates. He does not perform any pastimes with those who are not his eternal associates. So the fighting is like a mock fighting. Mock fighting, like theatrical performance. And when the theatrical performance is over, when the curtain falls, then everybody is in the same camp, same group. There is no enemy. There is no enemy. There is nothing. So this Shishupal's case and today in a Vain case, this is the difference described from that point of view, that he being the eternal associate of the Lord, Shishupal Dantavak being the eternal associate of the Lord, they were not bereft of being conscious of Krishna even for a moment. So this shows that they never fell down from this world, because they were always united in the thought of Krishna. This avesh of enmity or envy or this thing, only to fulfill that wish or the desire of the Lord to have this mood of chivalry. This is very, very clearly established. And because their thought of Krishna is incessant, that shows that there is no fall down on their part. Apparent their coming down is not a fall down, because our fall down is again and again our forgetful. So what is fall down? Fall down means forgetful. To become forgetful of Krishna is fall down. Period. And again we fall down because we are given the opportunity to attain the supreme destination. We are given the opportunity to develop and crave and become desperate for incessant loving remembrance of Krishna. And still we underperform, we underachieve. There is fall down, that is ordinary. We remain ordinary, that is fall down. But Shishupal and Dantavak apparently came as performed the act of a demon. But they never fell down because they were never out of thought of Krishna even for a moment. Make sense?
Yes, Maharaji, very, very nice. So wonderful is the Leela of Krishna. And also
Yes.
this Ravana and Kansa, they also know from the beginning that they are going to fight or killed by Krishna or Rama. So they were at that position from the beginning itself. So that makes this Leela so
especially
wonderful.
Shishupal.
Thank you.
Especially Shishupal in Dantavak, he was very clear. He was obsessed. Ravan and Hiranyakashipu, they didn't think that like Varahadev and Nrsimhadev, they were just a little fascinated by him, but they never thought that they can. Ravan also, he thought that Lord Ram is just a human being, what he can do to me. So they were not so serious about them. But the Shishupal was tremendously serious in the thought of Krishna. So was Dantavak. And he knew his past lives. Shishupal knew that Krishna killed him in the previous births, and this time he will definitely kill him. But still, he was not scared of him. He was just enviously just putting him down, calling him names, as we know. Envy was just so, you think you will kill me? How you will kill me? You are my cousin brother. So brother doesn't kill a brother. So he just was so envious only. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaji. Hare Krishna.
Hey,
Hare
we have 3 more
Yeah.
questions. So, Hey, Maharaji or Abhijit?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right if you have time. So we have Shamsad.
Yeah, Shamsad, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranam. Jai Shila
Hare
Sripad Maharaj, Jai
Krishna,
Shila Prabhupada.
Jai.
So nice to hear you once again. even though today we did not get the benefit of your personal association. Impersonal ho gaya aaj.
नहीं,
Maybe it is too late there.
ऐसी बात नहीं, बस
Wow, that is great. That is great. Wonderful. So nice to see you.
I didn't know, but our Sanatana Goswami just put me in the slot.
It is said that, even when impure gold is put in the fire or in the molten state, then automatically the purity comes out. So, vaisa. Okay. Maharaj, one fundamental question. Now, from this Shishupal's example, we come to know that if one is, intensely envious or even, inimical towards the Lord, he still gets mukti. Now, however, if you apply the same yardstick towards a Vaishnava, leave alone a pure Vaishnava, even to a normal Vaishnava, it is considered to be, very, very offensive, and there is no chance of, progressing further in the spiritual life. So, can you kindly, throw some light on this? Because Vaishnavas are representatives of the Lord. So, Lord has no issues. Whereas when we are in the same way with the Vaishnavas, there is a problem. Why is it so?
This envy is possible when we don't target the ultimate. Just think of through contemplation. Vaishnava, in order to uproot this envy of other Vaishnavas, one has to contemplate that what am I up to? Where am I stuck? What I should be up to? We don't try to be like someone, because if you like to be like someone, and if you don't see the person as a pure devotee, then the envy will, one day I will be like him, and I will be better than him, and I will be above him. No. We cannot afford to compare and compete with anyone. We must target to be the pure devotee only. So when we think of our spiritual master as the purest pure devotee, correct? Why? Because he is the one at least we can be expected of seeing him as a pure devotee. Other pure devotees, we may not have much experience. So when we think of our Sri Guru as the purest devotee, then how we think? We want to become like him, means we want to become a pure devotee also. That's the point. Because otherwise this envy will creep in. Why a proper sadhaka or a disciple will never become envious of the spiritual master? Why? Because pure devotee is not the object. Pure devotee one should not be envious of her. So because we are not able to see other Vaishnavas as pure devotees, and at the same time we put ourselves also off to become a pure devotee. Our focus to become a pure devotee only. Not, I want to become devotee like him, where I can speak better, I can recite shlokas, or I can have this position, that prestige, or that. We want to be like, we want to better ourselves, correct? We want to improve. But our target should be to become a pure devotee only. We cannot afford to compare and compete with anyone. If comparing and competition, then the envy comes in between. But we have been doing this for so many lifetimes. This time, we will only target to be a pure devotee. We cannot afford to settle for anything less than the best, less than the ultimate. This must rule our consciousness, our contemplation. That how many times we have we have allowed some trying to catch up to someone, or trying to level someone, or trying to excel someone or exceed someone. And in the process, we have lost the focus of becoming a pure devotee ourselves. So if the target is contemplated upon, then there will be no time and space for envy for anyone. Because I myself am deprived. Where do I have the time to think of enviously of someone else? We don't have time actually. A true sadhaka, he just he should be concerned about oneself. But I'm deprived. I'm deprived. Naturally, we beg the Vaishnavas, advanced Vaishnavas. We see that they are very advanced. They are on the platform of pure sentiments like that. Then we beg their mercy. We beg their, and don't become envious of them. You know? So it's a very fine line between envy and appreciation. Actually, one great poet has said, like two things. That imitation is the greatest demonstration of praise, and envy in the same way. You become envy of something. So envy is it begins with the jealousy. Jealousy means we see someone who is so wonderfully situated. I wish I had that position. I wish I had that building or car or anything. And but would that make our life complete? It's just one part of it. We become caught up into little things. Our focus has to come to become a pure devotee only. That should be the minimum standard, and yes, I want to become a pure devotee, and nobody should have any problem with that. Nobody will. Then we will see that nobody is bothering us. If I want to become a pure devotee, I won't find anybody bothering me except myself sometimes. And, everybody is just checking me out, how much I'm up to becoming a pure devotee. You get it?
Yes, Maharaj, very much. Yes.
Everybody is an instrument to push me forward in my goal. If I am contemplating how I can become a pure devotee, that means I haven't become yet. Problem starts when I think that I have become a pure devotee. Now I can judge everyone. That's how envy comes. But I want to become a pure devotee. The fundamental thing is I have not become yet, na? इतना तो acknowledge करना पड़ेगा ना.
Yes.
But oftentimes in the process, I think I have become a pure devotee. And now I got some special rights now. I haven't. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. You are looking very younger now in America. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Tadi, please make your question short.
Pranam Shri Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It's a wonderful lecture, and the line especially that we should not envious to anybody who is, because everyone is dear to Krishna, and so we have to face the consequence if we have any feeling of enviousness. It's a beautiful. And my question is that yes, Shishupal was thinking incessantly of Krishna enviously. But without forgetting any moment. But how is it possible that if anybody is thinking incessantly about Krishna, though he remained demoniac? That's
Yes, it's a good query. That how can one incessantly think of Krishna and still remain demoniac? You know, but thinking of Krishna incessantly, it will then he will become free from his even demoniac nature, because he becomes blessed. Because incessant association of Krishna, it will have only absolute effect. Even if he is demoniac, that will not block him attaining the absolute position. And that's why in this episode, this discussion, for the sadhakas, what is the advice? Advice is, my God, so much trouble he had to go through to become so envious of Krishna. We will exhaust. We don't have the capacity to be envious of Krishna. But definitely our chance of attaining incessant remembrance of Krishna favorably, lovingly, that is the only point to mention. For the example of given, that is too much. Why to be fear of Krishna? Why to be envious of Krishna? Krishna has offered unlimited pastimes, unlimited variegatedness in Krishna's personality. Naam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, Dham, Parikar, Abharan. So much expansion of Krishna to be appreciated of Krishna. So I think if we absorb our consciousness in appreciating Krishna's Naam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, Dham, Parikar, Abharan, his paraphernalia, his associates and everything, so we stand much greater chance, and it behooves a devotee. So do we identify ourselves as devotee or as demon? This question, if we answer, that is also the answer to that question. Shishupal may have acted as, but his incessant remembrance of Krishna freed him from his demonic nature also. He attained the absolute nature. But that is not the way to follow. Nonetheless, the absorption aspect Narad Muni was glorifying. That's a fact. So that means even the sadhak, even the best of sadhakas has this improvement possible. That's where the Sridhar Swami describes Charana Smarnam Premna Tavadev Sudurlabham. He says the incessant loving remembrance of your lotus feet is very difficult to attain, just as Narad Muni is saying. So what to do? Beg out, cry out to Krishna. Yes, Krishna, this is what we want. We are your devotees, and still we are not able to remember you constantly. So please bless us with obsession for you. That's it. Yatha kathanchit nihari. Mama bhuyat aharnisham. Please bless me so that day and night I can always, every moment, remember you lovingly, oh my Lord. So that's the point. All right. So we are not demons. We don't call ourselves. We want to become the pure devotee. So that's why, although through incessant thinking, Shishupal got over, become freed from his demoniac nature in the Leela, in the passion of Krishna. But our mood should be only to beg to be able to remember Krishna lovingly. All right?
Yes. Thank you very much. And as I just want to say the line which you told to get the love of Krishna, that किसी को इतना चाहो कि वो तुम्हें चाहने लगे, is very beautiful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, because चाहना ही तो हमारे हाथ में है, पाना हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. प्रेम चाहने का नाम है, पाने का नाम नहीं है. इस चीज को भी समझ, क्योंकि जो प्रेम करता है वो तो केवल चाहना ही उसके हाथ में है. वो तो सब कुछ देना चाहता है, इतना चाहता है कि सब कुछ अर्पित कर देता है. से पाने की तो कोई चिंता रहती नहीं, वो सब देना ही चाहता है. Gopis want to offer everything more than what they can imagine. So they were wondering what else we can offer to Krishna to please him, to make him favorable towards us. वो तो भगवान को इतना चाहती है कि भगवान ही उनसे दूर नहीं रह सके, like that. So then all these conditions and our agenda, they all vanish. Liking for Krishna is so amazing, so attractive that it frees one from all other chahas. भगवान की चाह इतनी पावरफुल होती है कि इसके सामने बाकी दूसरी चाहें समाप्त हो जाती है. They cannot stand. But कृष्ण को चाहना रियल होनी चाहिए ना. तो हम कृष्ण की चाहत को इतनी बढ़ाएं कि जो दूसरी चाहत है ना हमारी कि ऐसा बन जाऊं, वैसा बन जाऊं, ये पा जाऊं, दूसरी चाहत हमारी शून्य हो जाए. बोलिए हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे राम.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Dandavat.
हरे कृष्ण दंडवत.
Maharaj, like in this episode of this Shishupala and this there, so this living entity means like when we are envious of Krishna or his associates, so means what I feel that propensity to love is there within us, and only means like it has, if it's not directed in a proper direction, that's why all this problem of enviousness and these are there, because we are
Not finding
accustomed.
Krishna, not finding Krishna is the object of our love or sentiment or desire. So it has got distracted, it has become divided into unfulfilled. So
But this nature to love and to be loved, this is our intrinsic nature. This is there within us. What my question is there? Only the direction has.
But the object of love is Krishna. So not finding Krishna, this tendency to this राग है ना, हृदय का जो राग है उसके आस्पद कृष्ण ही है. Living entity is this feeling, willing, feeling means samvedna, willing, and doing so. This rag, its real object is Krishna. Not finding Krishna, and क्या होता है, वो राग ही चोर बन जाता है, उपद्रव कर देता है. In Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma in 14th chapter 10th canto, that shloka is very, very powerful. I think every devotee should. Tavad raga dayas stenas tavad karagraham griham tavad mohangri nigidam. जब not being able to find Krishna, the object of raga, or attachment or desire, this raga becomes चोर. कैसा चोर? कि हृदय की सभी सद्वृत्तियों को, all the wonderful qualities of the heart, steals. And it's a very strange kind of thief. When a thief steals certain things, he does not leave any trace for him to be caught, correct? He's very try to say koi bhi trace nahi. But this thief, this raga, when he becomes thief, it steals all the good qualities of the heart and then leaves all the bad quality, fills the heart with the bad qualities. So it's a special kind of thief. Tavas raga dres tenas tavas karagriham griham. And the household life becomes like karagrah. One becomes so implicated in pros and cons. Even when he has mixed experience, he just manages to remain like in a shell, in the cell. Karagriham. Then the moha, always remaining hopeful. Yes, even when somebody misbehaved with me, I got insulted, all these things, but they're still my son, they are my brother, my sister, my all these things. So the moha becomes like a पांव की बेड़ियों की तरह उसको बांधे रखती है. In spite of knowing and everything, मोह इतना पावरफुल है, पांव की बेड़िया बन जाती है. जब तक जीव कृष्ण का नहीं बन जाता, तो साधु गुरु वैद्य के आश्रय में आकर जब तक completely surrenders to Sri Guru, that is the way to surrender to Krishna. Actually, we don't surrender to Krishna. We surrender to Sri Guru. That is what Krishna, this is how Krishna accepts us. That is a Bhagavad Dharma. So until one finds a Sadguru Vaidya, उसका चोरी करना, उसका मोह, उसका कारागृह का जो टाइम continues. It's a tendency to just love, बोल रहे हो, desire. It is meant for Krishna. So until a person becomes blessed by the association of a pure devotee, his corruption of his raga into other things, which becomes lust, and lust again unfulfilled becomes anger, and all these things manifest. So ultimately, Bhagavad Dharma teaches us that without the cure under the care of Sadvaidya, Sadguru, Sri Guru, we are never going to be out of this material entanglement. It is that real. It is that serious. So this is the opportunity that whatever happened in the past, let it be, but present is in our control. We can control our present, and then we don't have to worry about the future. अंत में क्या होगा? अंते जय मति सही गति. Whatever we are conscious of in the present moment, that is our end also, because nobody has ever defined end till now. But we don't have to worry about the end, but we can definitely worry about the present, which is within our control. So if we have captured and safeguarded our present moment through consciousness, then we don't have to worry about बाद में क्या होगा. बाद में जो अभी हो रहा वही बाद में होगा. Take care of, we must take care of our present moment consciousness. That would do it. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Maharaj, don't worry. Thank you.
Yeah, we can conclude for the day, Maharaj.
वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्री श्रीपाद गुरु महाराज की जय. श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. समावेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंद.
His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Govardhan Madhav Maharaj ki jai.
गौर भक्त वृंद की जय.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज जी.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. I end the meeting.
Yes, yes.